Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Angelica here. If you're new, then come in, have a seat, have several seats, and if you're not new, thank you for having me once again all up on your screen. In this video I'm going to be discussing how to make an amazing law personal statement, but before I get into this video I just want to say I have been gone for such a long time without announcements, which I don't understand why I didn't at least just say like, hey, I'm gonna be AWOL for a little bit. I was just doing a few internships and also I needed a break because I cannot pour from an empty cup, so I needed time for myself, and I feel like I'm finally like balanced. Also, we reached 3,500 subscribers, which is amazing, so thank you to all of you that have been subscribing even when I wasn't making videos. So now on to the topic of this video. Here are the ingredients that go into a marvelous personal statement. Through my history of looking at personal statements, first thing that's always pretty shocking to me is that people don't have a thesis. People don't have a personal statement thesis, which I just don't understand, because like, how do you decide to start writing without knowing what your opinion is of the subject you're about to apply to study? You need a thesis. So this is pretty simple. What you need to do is think about what the law means to you. You might be studying law because you believe that law is a tool that solves problems, or you might think that law is the glue that holds the whole world together, or you might think law is a medium to justice or something like that. Like, you need to know, what does law mean to you? In my personal statement I said that the study of law is a conversation. It's basically a series of debates, discussions, conversations about the type of society that we should live in. Once you have this, then you can explain your motivations for studying law and how you develop these motivations. It would help you if you can remember when you first substantially encountered law. So for me, I use the example of an economics lecture. I know, crazy, right? So I went to an economics lecture at King's College London. I was part of this pre-university program called K+ for 2 years, and so when I went to this program we basically learned about Hobbes, and Hobbes is actually a very prominent person. I'm looking for the word. It actually comes up in property law and also comes up in jurisprudence, but I didn't even know this. I just went to an economics lecture to learn about economics, and he basically said something that was very interesting to me. He said that often in society we limit our own individual freedoms for the collective good, and I thought, wow, like that's very interesting. This is essentially like what happens a lot of the time when it comes to following laws that we might not want to, or paying tax, because yes, we all have a right. In theory, we have a right to spend our money however we want, but a lot of us are comfortable and actually willing to suppress our rights for other people. So in my personal statement I explained like what I thought about this. Then I found a case that actually demonstrated an example of this. I found a case of some protesters who were basically like put in a police cordon. The reason was because the police thought that violence would ensue. So I found a parallel between economics lecture and an actual case that happened. Like, it went all the way to the European Court of Human Rights. You don't have to have discovered legal theory in a law lecture. It's actually very impressive if you're able to draw a parallel between the first moment that you found something very interesting and you thought deeply about it, and that made you want to study law. To show an awareness of theory and practice of law. So these are two different things. So if you apply to something like LSE, just like anywhere, almost everywhere, law is competitive. So if you're applying to study law, you need to make sure you're not just saying that you want to be a lawyer, because there's so many other ways you can be a lawyer. You can study like a totally random course and then do a GDL, a graduate diploma of law, I would recommend that you have 3 areas of interest. You can have 4, but then maybe not go over 4. So this can be like your cliche human rights, it might be environment law, and it could be criminal law, or you know, like, I'm not telling you what to write. In my personal statement I spoke about freedoms, I spoke about squatters' rights and property and land law basically, and I also spoke about legal and social theory. So the idea that law reflects customs versus the idea that law actually is here to change customs rather than reflect custom. Structure is very important in your law personal statement, especially because law is a very essay intensive, structure centered, structure oriented course. So you need to be able to demonstrate themes in your personal statement. So you definitely need an introduction. Then you have the body, which I would describe as the development. At the end, you should explain how you have been prepared, how you are essentially ready to undergo this academically challenging subject, which is law. Your introduction, I'd say, as I already said, have your thesis, have your like philosophical opinions, and then in your development, here is where you can have like everything you have observed about the law in action and the law in theory. So here you can include your cases, you can include scholars who you find interesting. You might decide to include books or articles that you have genuinely read. Like, it's not about you just sprinkling things that you think the reader's gonna want to see, because like trust me, a good personal statement, there's such a difference. You can tell when someone is just like throwing things in. So make sure it's actually like genuine. Then I would recommend you include real life stories. So obviously historical law is important, but if you're able to show that you have been reflecting on contemporary affairs, this will make your personal statement more impressive, because you're drawing parallels between what you have researched about and investigated and actually what's going on in real life. I mentioned like 3 cases. At the time I was applying to university, there was a story of this guy called Shaka Amir. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, I'm sorry if I just butchered his name, but Shaka Amir, he basically was detained without trial in Guantanamo Bay, and I had been following his story for a long time, and just as I was about to apply, news came out that he might be getting released. So I used cases that have been actually ruled on, and I used stories that had happened that I'd been following in the news. I also mentioned statute. I basically explained like why I think this statute was needed and what this statute came to solve. Also in your development, here is where you basically say like what you're studying. So I would recommend you mention what you're studying currently. If you're not studying law, I didn't study law at A-level. I don't think it's a good idea personally to study law at A-level, but lots of people decide to do it. So you can explain how studying law at A-level has prepared you for studying law at degree level. You can also explain how studying other subjects like religious studies or sociology or maths or biology has prepared you to study law at undergraduate level. I linked law to religious studies, I linked law to sociology, and here as well I spoke about the fact that I was already at Oxford. If you have work experience as well, this might be what you want to include in the development part of your personal statement. So I had done like a few work experiences, so I was able to comment on my observation of law in practice versus law in theory. So I spoke about my time at Latham & Watkins, where I basically, like, that's an American firm, but then they operate in Britain. I think I spoke about multi-jurisdictional elements in law. I cannot remember. It could be something like volunteering in a homeless shelter. You might actually be exposed to law in like those ways. Like, it doesn't have to be just like legal work experience. The next part of your personal statement is explain how you are ready for the study of law. What exactly are the traits that you're bringing to that institution? You don't have to like tailor it to one institution, but at least explain, like, I understand that I need to be organized if I want to study law, or I have to have a real interest in current affairs if I want to study law, and I have done this by XYZ. Like, basically, I'm not telling you what to actually say, I'm just saying like have an awareness. So like, they want to see someone who's interesting. They want to see your extracurriculars. I recommend that sorry guys, I live in Dagenham, so you're gonna hear sirens. I swear, like, every time I film, there is always a siren going off. Okay, so as I was saying, when it comes to the ratio of your personal statement, I would recommend like nothing less than like 80-20, but someone like me, my personal statement was more like 90-10. So like 90 was like very academic, 10 was like not, was extracurriculars. If you're applying to a top university like LSE, then it's very important that you have extracurriculars there. But then if you are like me, where lots of your academic content was super curricular anyway, like summer schools, that's kind of a bridge between extracurriculars and academic. So that's what you call a super curricular. So though it was very academic, it wasn't just like black letter law, it wasn't like all about books. It is fundamental that you share your opinions. If there's any time that you can have opinions, it is especially in your personal statement. Every case with every scholar that you cite, make sure you have an opinion. I did this both subtly and also explicitly. So an example of me doing this subtly was when I spoke about Shaka Ahmed. I used the word rightly when I described him being released from jail. You can tell from the sentence, he will rightly be released. I'm already giving you my opinion. This is a very clever way that you can do this. I did this explicitly when I quoted Karpa in his book Understanding the Law. I actually said that Karpa believes that law reflects society's customs. However, I believe the law often does the opposite, and I gave an example. The reader should know exactly where you stand on all the legal themes that you draw upon. You need to know what institutions you're applying to. So universities have personalities, believe it or not. Places like LSE, the London School of Economics and Political Science, is very social science focused. So they look at the bigger picture. They look at law, but from different perspectives. Of course, we learn about legal history in Britain, but also LSE loves to draw parallels between law and other subjects. LSE loves to draw parallels between law in the UK and other countries. LSE is all about learning about what is going on now and what could happen in the future. If you're going to apply to somewhere like LSE, UCL, Cambridge, Oxford, King's, then your law personal statement has to be very academic. But even then, you have to take it a step further for universities like LSE. An Oxford personal statement will not get you into LSE because LSE looks for something more. So just being academic is not enough to get you into any and every university. I would then round off essentially, if there's like a theme going through your personal statement, draw it together. If there was one main thing, that thesis that you mentioned in the beginning, I would try and mention it again and say, you know, paired with XYZ, I believe I'm ready, or I believe I'm the ideal candidate to do XYZ. Link it back to that thesis. So that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. If you're not already subscribed, please make sure you subscribe. Please leave the like button so that I know that some of you guys were actually still listening to me even right now. So I know you guys are genuinely listening, and make sure you connect with me on my social media channels. I'm trying to connect with you on all my platforms so that even when I'm not posting, I feel like I'm connected with you guys. So click on the links in my description box to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and yeah, thanks so much again for watching this video. I'll see you all in my next. Bye!